Hello everyone, it's me, Coffee Stitcher. It is the first Sunday in June. I actually was originally going to be here last week, because our plans fell through, which turned out to be a good thing because our air conditioner died Friday afternoon, and they didn't fix it until Thursday. Subsequently, though, it was way too hot to try and film the video in here. They gave us a portable, so we had it in the living room. And the living room's light is not good when it's at its best, and it's really not good at its worst, so it was just easier not to film last week. So hopefully everyone had a great Memorial Day weekend here in the States. I know I did. That was sarcasm. Actually, to be fair, I did get a lot of stitching time in. So I do whip updates. I have a tiny little eensy-weensy bit of haul that I'm going to show you. We've got some Q&A. I want to give a quick shout-out to my friend Aaron. He is Marilyn's boy on FlossTube. And he's hysterical. And I highly recommend you watching his videos. I seriously cannot recommend him enough. I know I don't get a lot of FlossTube time watching in, but his are definitely well worth it. So, and he's just a pretty cool dude in general. Alright, so we will jump in with the Q&A, then we'll go from there. Rebecca Johnson asks, is it possible in the future for all us Texans to get together at a resort during the summer and stitch? There is an event in Weatherford, I think twice a year, called Floss Away. There's also one in Addison in November, for local stitchers. So there are those two events, and the Mirror Retreat is always in May in San Antonio. So there actually are several Texas stitchy retreats. So there you go. Trisha wants to know, says, there are some dark shadows on the wall above your head. Ceiling decoration or malevolent spirits? I'm going to try and do this without making anyone seasick. Here, let me do this. Boop. Okay, we're going to switch the camera around. I apologize if this makes anyone seasick. And actually, here's my stitchy corner from my perspective. It's actually a mobile of brass Wizard of Oz ornaments that I made. So those are actually what you're seeing there. There's some of my Oz stuff. And while we're at it, we'll take a journey across the library. There's one of my cross-stitch pieces. There's another one. This is my, and please excuse it, it's better than it was, but it's still a little bit of a mess. This is my crafting closet. So this is where my DMC and stuff is. That's where my Mira patterns and other random things are. Like I said, this is not terribly organized. That's the UFO drawer. We're just not even going to try. And finishes. There are finishes in there. Here's where I've got my fabrics, organized by color bag. Kits are up there. That is floss that either is new floss that hasn't been organized, or projects that I finished that are needing to be organized. This is my kitted projects box, which is kind of light after Mania. One box of whips. Another box of whips. There's where I hold my whips that are the active ones that I'm currently working on. And then down here, there's nothing in that category yet. Binders, patterns. And actually, I need to grab that one. So, yeah, that's kind of it. Do another little survey. So that's our library. There's another one of my cross-stitch finishes. There's my Oz bookshelf, for those wondering what that looks like. So, we're going to switch you back over to me. Ha-ha! Ho-ho, hee-hee! Crotch shot. Okay. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that lovely journey. Rose City Stitcher asks, it says she sometimes has trouble seeing the holes on opalescent fabric. Do you have any tips for stitching on this fabric? One of the things I discovered recently is on opal fabrics, using a size 24 needle actually helps because it's a little bigger, so I find I'm less likely to split the threads, and it makes it a little easier for me to find the holes. So I don't know if that'll help you or not, but I found that recently for me. Betty Sweet, All Is Well is by Shepherd's Bush. It came out in, I think, 2016, maybe. And it's got a cute little saying on it. Tracy Brown says, or asks, when you work on projects, do you always take them out of your frame when not working on them? Is this better for them? When I'm done working with it, like when I rotate away, I definitely take them off. But otherwise, because I generally only spend a short, couple of days. There's an exception coming up here in a second. Generally, I only spend a couple of days on a project, and then I rotate away. So they're not on it for very long. But I take them out when I'm done. So... So I hope that helps. Some people swear by you take them always off, never leave your crease snap. I have. At the end of the day, and this is one thing that I know some people are going to go, yee, when I say, but there are certain things that people say, oh, don't do that because it's going to ruin them historically, years and years down the road. 100% truth here, I do it for myself. I stitch for me. Occasionally things get given as gifts. I have no children. There is no plan to have children. There is no guarantee that anyone, once I'm gone, that anyone's going to want anything to do with these. So I'm less worried about them living beyond me. And maybe that's foolish and foolhardy of me, but I'm less concerned about the longevity simply because I've got, maybe 60 more years to go? So, and I know that's slightly dark and nihilistic, but it's the truth. So, I'm not as worried about it as I know some people are. Oh, and Facebook just alerted me. Happy birthday, Yulia. Anita Schaub, or maybe it's Schaub, asks, do you work on projects you are drawn to, or do you consider where they will be displayed? Do you have a stitching wall or gallery, as I've seen some stitchers? I'm leaning towards starting one. Currently, I don't have a stitchy wall/gallery. Eventually, when we have a house, I most likely will. But right now, we just don't have the space for it. So a lot of my projects are finished, but they're not framed because I don't have anywhere to put them. And as expensive as framing is, I can wait on that. I tend to work on projects that I'm drawn to. If I'm not drawn to it, I'm not going to do it. Now, that said, just because I'm drawn to something doesn't mean I'm ever going to display it. Some things I'm like, you know what, I love this. This is never going to have any purpose in my decoration, but I love it, and I want to stitch it. And some things I do have thought, I'll think ahead of like, oh, well, one day when I have a nice house with a conservatory, I'll have all these lovely gardening stitches that I can just put up with vegetables and things like that. I'm probably never going to have a house with a conservatory. As much as I would like to be British and have one, I don't think it's going to happen. The General Stitcher asks, do you think we might be able to do a filming tour of our LNS sometime? I will see how they feel about it, and I make sure to do that the next time we all meet there. And have I thought about doing an interview on Fiber Talk? They've never approached me, but if they wanted me to, I would. I'm good with that. Once Upon a Stitch asks, how do you get inspired on choosing new patterns? Through Facebook or friends? Some of it is through Facebook, some of it is Instagram, some of it is I'm in my LNS and I see something and I go, ooh, pretty. And then some of it's through friends. Mostly it's Facebook or walking through Stitch Niche. Vicky asks, do you always use 2 strands of floss on all your fabric, even linen? Is it 2 for 28 count Lugana? I can't use 3 strands. It's too much floss and gets twisted too easily. My general rule is 32 and below is 2 strands. 35 and above, 1 strand. And if it's perforated paper, 3 strands. So that's how I do it. So yes, it would be 2 for 28 count Lugana. Pamela Spearing says, your Zodiac project is cute. Is that by Clouds Factory? Yes, it is. Lori, well, your question just got answered about 5 minutes ago. Allison Stitches says, I'm thinking of buying beads to use instead of French knots for eyes. Do you have any recommendations for what might be a good size? I'll buy 2 different sizes, but need a starting point. I would look at petite seed beads. I think there are a 15-0 and an 11. Then the 11-0 is the regular seed bead. Those would be what I would look at. I would be cautious with using beads, simply because sometimes they can give you... Beads for eyes sometimes give you the effect of... what's the word I'm looking for? It's similar to the googly eye effect without the actual rolling around eyeballs. So I would be cautious there. I think it's Sublime Stitching, the website. They have a fantastic French knot tutorial. That's how I learned them. And I made French knots my bitch. All right, so that was the Q&A. We actually had a fair amount this week. I love that Q&A. Okay, so my little bit of haul, Noob Stitcher, N-O-O-B, on Instagram was sharing the other day. He bought some stuff to make needle minders with, and I thought they were awesome, so he sent me 2 Michael Jackson needle minders. Isn't that adorable? It is Michael Jackson. So I will, I'll be using them probably on a Peter Pan shirt, which I know is terrible of me, but I just can't not. Okay, so I'll show you what I worked on this week, and then we get a little into story time. So I did work on and finished the castle in Longfellow's Round Tower. So here it is in whole, all the way back. And there it is more close up. So I do need to go back and fix one of my back stitching lines over on this side, but I'll do that towards the end. But there's my castle. Isn't it pretty? Like, I'm just amazed at how stunning this thing turned out. It's just, it's so pretty. And I love that moon, and I mean, it's just, I love this project. I love this project so much. So this month I'll do have a page finish. And then, move on to the next page, which probably that one I'm going to just do a page finish in the month because there's, well, no, I say that there is over 1 stitching, so I may not be. There is over 1 stitching. After I get after the next page is done, the way the pattern is, because here's, for those of you who've forgotten, there's the full pattern. Because of this part at the bottom, what I'm probably going to do is I'm just going to try to work it all at once. So I may just do a quick focus on a finish thing. Because the specialty stitches just don't take all that long. So, and that's by Tempting Tangles. See, I did do my zodiac. I did finally make some decisions about the constellations. And some other things. So, there we go. So here we are, and again, this is one that doesn't show up too well on film, but in person it shows up really well. But here's where we are. So we had Gemini to do. So there's Gemini. I decided on my black hole colors. I did my stars here, and then I got my constellations done. And then I decided that the moons, because I'd done so much this month, I was going to push the moons off a little bit. So like I said, this shows up so much better in person, and I hate that you can't really see it on camera, but it looks really cool in person. You can sort of see it there. So, and this is on 36 Count Whimsical Winter by Under the Sea Fabrics. So, really, really enjoying this one. Alright, so now we get into a little bit of tough talk time. For the last little while, I've been discussing and lamenting a little that I was frustrated with the Soda Stitch Fairy Tale Lands 1 and 2. Not because I don't like them, but because they take... We're about to get into some irony here. They take longer every month than I like spending on a project. My OCD won't handle doing like half of the story at a time, because that's one part, and I can't... My OCD just doesn't handle that. And I noticed I was always trying to pull stuff in from the bigger designs. And with the Clouds Factory Epic Disney, that sort of satiated my needs there. So I decided I'm going to go back to doing the individual stories versus the two big fairy tale lands. So I decided that, so that meant that I needed to go back to Wizard of Oz. So that's what I started working on, and then I just kept enjoying it because I was having a stressful weekend, and now I'm just going to continue on until I finish it because I'm so close. But here's where we are. I have started The Wicked Witch of the West, but she's not done, and so I'm hiding her until she's done. I did do a little bit of color changing. Most of the orange, the 972, I turned into 3826. No, 3820. I did change the Scarecrow to be more sack-like, and also so he could have straw hair. And I altered the Tin Man's backstitch a little bit. But here we are. So I've got the witch and I've got the top left to do. I thought I was going to get it finished this weekend, but we've had other things going on, so it probably won't be finished today, but it'll be finished here in the next couple of days. June, as most of you in Mania know, is Wine or Whips. Wine and Whips, excuse me. So I've decided what I'm going to do, and I've also got to sit down and do some reorganization again on things, is I'm going to spend, I'm going to do, because, you know, I'm working on my border of Giant Harry Potter. So I'm going to spend when I'm in the section with the little motifs, I'm going to do one of the little motifs a day. And then when I'm on the bigger pieces, I'm going to spend 30 minutes. I'll sort of play it by ear a little bit. But we're going to work on Giant Harry Potter for that. And then go from there. So then that carries me into, since I'm going to be finishing Oz shortly, the next Soda Stitch that I'll start. And I'm going to start with my friend Aaron, because I turned him onto the patterns, is we're going to do Aladdin's Wonderful Lamp together. So, and I think I'm going to end up doing it on a gold, goldish, yellowish colored fabric. I need to do some floss tossing. So, Because one thing I do generally do is most of the time I convert the yellows and the oranges, so I think it'll still be okay. But we'll see. So yeah, so there we go. There's Aladdin and his magic lamp. Coming soon. Alright, so that's kind of it for me for now. I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and I will see you all next week. Don't forget to drop me Q&A